It's almost midnight, which will make it. I don't know if it's day 20 or day 21. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know if it was. I wasn't sure if it was the 11th or the 12th that I originally moved here. It's funny. I guess I guess the technical term for it is passive suicidality or something like passive suicide. Like I'm not actively trying to kill myself, but I've been like fucking around, like crossing the street without looking, and the funny thing is that I witnessed a novel phenomenon, novel to me anyway, should I say. So I'm well aware of the notion of being passively suicidal, but as I was crossing the street, this fucking bus came around the corner, and then when he saw me, he didn't just not slow down, he sped up. And I guess I don't want to die yet because it made me do a little jump and the bus missed me by that much, I'm telling you. The fucker was trying to kill me. And then I realized for every passively suicidal person like myself, there must be countless passively homicidal fuckers out there. Like, and like the cars. I mean, like, cars always all have been slowing down and avoiding me, but the bus drivers, like, I've always had a problem with bus drivers, like, cause they're some of the most nastiest, grumpiest, horrible cunts you could ever imagine. At least in Scotland or the UK, anyway. And this just confirms it to me, like this fucker tried to kill me. And then I realised that there's people going out there who are passively homicidal. Like the only reason why he's not murdering, killing, and raping people is because he knows he won't get away with it. But as he's there driving his little death machine, he's just itching to run a cunt down. Man, it blew my mind. I was like, wow. And then it made me start thinking, is it the same with train drivers as well? Like, if you could really look into their psyche, into their minds, or train drivers, like, do they get off on it? I mean, some of them must be good people, obviously, but a good portion of them, like, I reckon that they're just itching for it. I bet, like, the day they get to kill someone is one of the best days of their lives. £76,000 a year, and fucking 5 weeks holiday, paid sick leave, ain't enough for them. Nah, they've got to kill a motherfucker. Mental. Drew a haircut. looks patchy because I was pulling my hair out. I know I'm balding anyway. I've always been like that, you know, since I was like a young adult. But I was just through stress. I was like that. I was pulling clumps of hair out. You know, I was when I first went homeless and first got kicked out of the house. I was over at my little brother's house, and yeah, like I had to go to bed because I wasn't well, and the only spare bed that he's got is his daughter's bed that she never uses. She sleeps in bed with him because she's young, and I didn't realize at the time that I was pulling all the hair out, and yeah, like I didn't realize it. The hair was covered with the mattress was covered with hair, and my little brother thought that I was dying of cancer. He thought that's what that explains everything. That's what's happening. He's dying of cancer. And oh, Jesus. Nah, I'm just pulling my hair out compulsively. I'll show you what I usually look like. You know, you might think that I'm just a normal bald man, you know, but I'll show you what I looked like just a few months ago. If I can find, I want to see. If I can find it, bloody hell, I don't really have much photos of myself. Tell you what would be easier. There, here we are. So, you know, if I could be arsed, I'd like splice in pictures, you know, and do it all high quality, but I haven't got time for that just yet. Maybe soon I'll do one more editing and fancy shit. But that's what I usually look like. That's what I looked like just about 3 or 4 months ago. What do you think? Hair or no hair? Fuck it. Who am I trying to impress? I need to put my phone out the window to get a fucking signal. So it's been my 6th day without cigarettes. Doing well. I'm not using the NRT, the nicotine replacement therapy, as much as I thought I would. Excuse me. You know, I often go like an hour, 2 hours without it, and I don't even realise. I suppose with the patch giving you a constant, you know, that helps. The patches never used to help. I've tried them once or twice before and I didn't like it, but that's because I wasn't mentally ready to quit. You know, I didn't want to quit. I was just trying to do the right thing. What? But this time I've got no choice. I have to quit. My VO2 max took a dive the first couple of days while I was that I quit. I panicked. I read online. It says that's natural. It's normal. Like when you first quit smoking, your lungs go through a process of healing, and that actually can result in a lower VO2 max. But it said that it should increase dramatically afterwards, and true enough, checked my health app today, and my VO2 max, my VO2 max had jumped a substantial amount. So I've now went from low to below average. Cardiovascular health went from low to below average. Good. Below average. Never thought I'd be so happy to be below average. Hopefully the trend continues and it keeps improving. I think I've made peace with the fact that I'm going to have to survive with what I've got. Some foolish part of me thought that I'd be able to get the entitlement that I used to have back, but this new government that's came in and new policies and everything, like they're fucking everyone's money, and it, yeah. So it just means that I'm gonna have to make some sacrifices. Um, I think the one good thing though about me not getting my benefits back. Sorry, I must sound like a broken record or fucking parrot. But, when you're homeless, money matters. So one good thing though is that the benefits that the limited benefits that I am still receiving seem to be golden, in the sense of it's not a lot, but they're not going to touch it. They're not going to take it away. And that's the thing that I used to always feel anxiety about and insecure about, even when I was on my full entitlement, was like, they've got you by the balls, like, you better behave, you better take your medicine, uh, you better play by the rules and do what we say. Otherwise, if you don't, I mean, you get on the wrong side of your medical team, or your assessor, or your social worker, or your counselor, or your consultant, get on the wrong side, or for whatever reason, whatever the reason may be, they can just gone, benefits gone, or like a new government can come in and decide, actually everyone's benefits are gone, and that was always a source of negativity, negative emotion in my life, even when I had everything. So there's benefits to having nothing to lose. And one of those benefits for me is, well, let me just first start by saying, every time that I've been carted off to the hospital, what do you call them? I mean, me and Lindsay jokingly refer to them as the Tard Wranglers. The men in white suits in the van and the big net, Every time that I've become unwell or psychotic or whatever else in the past, it was always Lindsay who was the first one to call the crisis team, to let them know. They'd be like, hey, it's happening again. And the first couple of times that it happened, they were like, are you sure? Are you sure? Here, just here's a prescription for some diazepam. Give him that, and watch if he calms down over the next couple of days. It'll be alright. It'll be alright. And every time it progress, and yeah, and she'd be the one on the phone with them saying, "No, you need to send someone now. This is a crisis. This is it. It's happening. It's happening." And then they'd come round with an assessor team, and they'd be like, "Yep, he's crazy." And then they'd cart me off to the hospital. Now, my experiences with the hospital, like, I've been wildly positive and wildly negative at different times, but we'll save that for a different day. But in general, I'm not averse to going to the hospital. Like, for the most part, I do enjoy it. In fact, you could even say I love it sometimes, because the fact is that I am institutionalized. I've spent so many years in the military and so many years in hospitals that, like, I cope really well in hospital environments, and with routine and structure and all that stuff. Um, but anyway, like I've always wondered, like, what would happen if Lindsay wasn't there to make the call. I must say, like Lindsay does not agree with mental illness. I know that doesn't sound like it makes sense, but like what I mean is, mental illness in others does not agree with her. She has zero patience, zero understanding, zero insight, zero compassion, even sometimes. She has no understanding, no clue on how to correctly and appropriately deal with and interact and control like psychotic or mentally unwell people. Like she just can't hack it. She can't handle it. Like it's just not in her nature. And that's not to say she's a bad person. I don't mean to imply that. She's an amazing, wonderful person in almost every other situation, you know. But she can't deal with psychosis, which is fair enough. Like not many people can. In fact, it's very rare. Even in the mental health profession, very few of them are equipped to deal with mental illness. That's why there has to be such rigorous training and guidelines and protocols and checks and safety measures all in place, specifically because most people are not equipped to deal with it. So it's no great criticism of Lindsay's personality or whatever. The fact that she can't deal with psychosis. But to get to my point, what I was trying to make is I've always been curious, what would my psychosis, how would it progress? What would happen? How would it develop? What if I was left to just be? And what that would require is isolation. Well, two things. First thing is isolation, which I've got now in this flat. Isolation, and also it would require that I'm not beholden to benefit money. Because the simple fact is that if you're receiving a high entitlement to disability benefit for a mental health condition, then it's basically a prerequisite that it's not official, it's not law or anything, nothing written down, but it's basically like an unwritten, unspoken understanding that you better take your damn medicine. If you're disabled and you want your benefits, then you have to accept treatment. Simple as. Even if, like in my case, the treatment, certain powerful antipsychotics, literally shrink your brain, shorten your lifespan, and negatively affect the functioning of your cardiovascular system. Even if that's the case, you have to take your medicine. And so it was always kind of like, almost like a bribe, like, take your medicine. Take your medicine and don't be a burden on society any more than you already are with your cost of living, And so, like, before, for years and years and years, it was always a case of I've got Lindsay to keep me in check, and I've got my benefit money on the line, so I had to take my medicine. I had to be normal, as normal as I could be. I had to, But now, I mean, for the first time ever, I'm in a position where I can refuse the medication because I can refuse the medication and I can be free to just exist as myself, and then let the psychosis naturally take hold and naturally progress, and then I don't know, it might be interesting, it might be like maybe that's just the natural way that I'm supposed to be, you know? Like, because don't get me wrong, like before you start thinking all these crazy things, like I've been extremely unwell in the past, but I've never been violent, never violent to other people, and only suicidal or self harming rarely, and it was when I was locked up and confined in solitary confinement. I was basically in solitary confinement for a while in the early days because I was just so unwell. 24-hour obs, they'd call it, you know, 24 hours just locked up in a room with the person staring at you, you know, freaky, watching while you take a shit, you know, not nice. But if I had my own flat, you know, I'm curious to see where it would lead. And maybe it would be a disaster. Maybe I would completely lose my grasp on reality. Maybe I would become a danger to myself. Maybe I would become a nuisance to society. But at this stage of the game, what I've got to lose? You know? I've got nothing to lose except for my life, which at this point is meaningless. So I've got nothing to lose and everything to gain from this experiment. Uh, I don't mean to say that it's going to be particularly entertaining or that it's going to go anywhere on this channel, you know, or anything like that. I don't mean it in that sense, but you know, like if you go back to my day one through day six videos, you'll see a tiny glimpse into this psychosis, and that was all after like the very first video was 12 hours after I'd been administered my powerful antipsychotic. Um, and it took effect. It took effect within half an hour, you know, profoundly. But I was still quite visibly ill for like a week after administration of my medicine. But even then, like I was happy, I was sad, I was emotional, I was up, I was down, I was having insight, and I was having creativity, and I was having ideas, and I was feeling powerful emotions. Music spoke to my soul, and me crying and laughing, and this and that. And I felt like I didn't need my computer, I didn't need drugs, I didn't need alcohol, I didn't need sex, I didn't need masturbation, I barely even needed food, I didn't need anything, you know, and I wasn't harming anyone, I was just here and, you know, pacing miles backwards and forwards in this room. And you know what? I'd take that over this any day. I would I would take that over this. Like, what am I now? I'm not psychotic, but I'm not normal. It's easier being this way. Oh, don't get me wrong. It's easier being like this. It's easy being inert. It's easy being empty. It's easy to feel nothing in some ways. But I tell you one thing, I wasn't walking in front of traffic when I was crazy. I wasn't thinking of killing people when I was crazy. I wasn't thinking of revenge when I was crazy. Only when I take the medicine. Only when I take the medicine do I start having those thoughts. That little voice is back. You know, when I was a kid, from a kid to a teenager to an adult, I would have this voice in my head, and it'd be like, I wish I could die. I wish I could die. I want to die. I want to die. And just thinking that would bring relief, which would then be, it would make it act as like positive reinforcement. So it became addictive, it became compulsive. I was compulsively, throughout most of my childhood and early adulthood, wishing to die, wishing to kill myself. And it was only when it became apparent that I was mentally ill, and I had some CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that I began to actively counter it. And how I did it, I couldn't stop it. It was too hard. But instead of saying I want to die, it would be I want to fly. I just think I want to fly. I want to fly. I wish I could fly. I want to fly. And it worked after a while. I managed to stop it, and I was happy, and I had everything that I wanted for a while. But it's started to come back. Well, this time you're going to have to kill yourself. You're going to have to kill yourself. But the scary thing is, it's changed again. But this time, it's just saying, you're going to have to kill. You're going to have to kill. I'm like, what? What? It's like, you're going to have to kill Lindsay. You're going to have to kill Liam. You're going to have to kill yourself. I'd never want to do these things, of course. I don't want to, of course not. I would really hate to get to the point where I'm driven to do something that not even God could forgive. I don't mean God as in Christianity and all that kind of stuff. I just mean the universe, the source, the higher power, creation, existence, intelligence. Because I used to be an atheist throughout most of my life, and I've since changed my mind. It now seems obvious to me that this is like a test or a trial, or at least that's a part of it. I feel like there's like a war raging for our souls. There's a war raging inside all of us. I can't speak for everyone, but at least I can for myself. And I'm scared of losing. I'm scared of losing that war. Because I used to think, like, I think if you do something bad enough, like a gladiator quote, like, what we do in this life echoes into eternity. I really believe that. And what if you do something so horrible, so evil, that it has an eternal, profound, catastrophic consequence, not just for others, but for yourself? That scares the shit out of me. Or at least it did. But it's started to get to the point now where it's like, maybe you can look at it as the ultimate, not maybe the ultimate, but you could maybe look at it as like a fucked up form of like the ultimate sacrifice. When you live in a society that's so twisted, so evil, so corrupt, full of such injustice, inhabited by such monstrous creatures, that maybe it's like a built-in mechanism of consciousness or intelligence or the universe or life or maybe just me, where even in the face of eternal damnation or complete annihilation, you're forced to take action. You're forced to do something so bad, knowing full well the eternal ramifications for your own soul. But you do it anyway, just for the slight hope of a chance of effecting some kind of change. I wanted to be a hero when I was growing up. I wanted to fight for my country. So I joined the military, did that for as long as I could. And then when COVID got announced, I was the first to sign up as a healthcare worker. Straight away they put me into the COVID quarantine units. Back when we didn't have any idea how deadly it was, I was the first to sign up to deal with it. So it's like that cheesy ass cliche. You either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. I should have died in 2012. When I stepped in front of a train, but the train stopped. So then I ran and jumped off a fucking bridge. Broke my 10th and 12th thoracic vertebrae in my left distal radius, tib fib in my left ankle. Concussion, unconscious. All the way back in 2012. And it's weird how everything went downhill with society and life and everything else after 2012. So maybe, when I jumped off that bridge and it was quite high, it was the trees were way below me, and I fell. And as I fell off the bridge, trees came flying at me, and I just instinctively grabbed a branch, and it snapped like a twig, and I thought, shit, that's not enough. And it wasn't painful. It was like a flash of black. I know that sounds weird, but it was like a flash of black, and then there was like nothing, but not nothing. It was like 2 or 3 seconds of like a cool blackness, and then I woke up like however long later, and like all with the neck brace and the back brace and the stretcher in the back of the ambulance, getting rushed to hospital, and I was like, fuck. But I reckon that's probably what it would feel like to die. Like there was a flash of intense pain on impact, but it was so short and so fast that like you barely even registered it before you're gone. And I think maybe I'm already in hell. Only it's a specific kind of hell for people like me. For people where like outright torment, outright horror, outright suffering, I have some sort of like natural immunity to. And so, in order to punish me, my hell is like some weird ass concoction. Some weird ass fucking thing. Just enough relief, just enough love, just enough hope. Just to be kicked down and the rug pulled out from under me and smacked around and used and abused, and it's a special kind of torment. And it's set up in such a clever way. So that the main architect of my suffering is myself. Yeah. That's a mind fuck. Let's try and get some sleep.